You won't believe how a film director managed to solve the mystery of a murder that has remained unsolved for more than 40 years. I have always believed that lying is the worst thing ever, any kind of lie, even if it is a white lie. And the one who confirmed my words is the man I will talk about, because he has not done anything in his life except to lie. I would also like to tell you that this story is full of many events and many more details as well. That is why I am telling you to bring something to eat or drink while watching this episode. And I want you to focus on all the details. But before that, I have 2 requests to set the mood. Turn off the lights and put on your headphones, and let's begin the story. On January 30, 1982, there was a girl named Catherine McCormick, and she was studying medicine at Albert Einstein University. And after she finished one of her college day, she and her friends gathered to go out, and after the beautiful day, she had to return home to her husband's name was Robert, and he was known to be the son of one named Simon, whose family was known as one of the richest families working in the real estate field in New York. But Robert was a little different. He quit the job with his family, and after that he opened a place for healthy food, which is something very far from the family's business. Catherine and her husband's house was in a place in New York called South Salem, and Catherine, after her returning home that day, she got into a big strong fight with her husband, and then she said that she was going back hometown in Manhattan, and Robert did not even object to this matter, and he agreed and told her that he will drive her to the train station himself. After they reached the station and saw her riding the train, he went to sit with his friends for a while to amuse himself after he finished the night with his friends. He was going to home, and he saw a phone booth at that night. He decided to call his wife to make sure that she had arrived, and she answered and told him that everything was fine. But the strange thing was that after that call, Catherine disappeared, and she did not answer her home phone again. Robert sat for a day waiting for a call from his wife, but she had never called him.
Mrs. Durst was a 4th-year medical student here at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and she was to have a clinic class that morning, but she called up saying she wasn't feeling well.
Good evening. She talked on the telephone with her husband and with a supervisor at a medical center. Then she vanished. That was more than a week ago, and no one has seen Kathleen Durst since.
At that time, the building's concierge said that he had seen her twice, but at the same time they knew that during the last period before her disappearing, she was going to treat her wounds on her face in a hospital called the Bronx, which means that Robert was beating her a lot. And they also knew that during this period, Kathleen wanted to divorce him and take about $250,000 from him, but he did not agree and rejected the idea of divorce in the first place. And the strange thing is that he did not discuss it, and the idea of divorce didn't make him kinder to her, but the opposite. In fact, he became much more violent, and at that time, in order to punish her, he took her name from the bank account and decided that he would not pay any money, meaning that he wanted to prevent his wife from getting an education at all. And keep in mind that education was a very important thing for Catherine, of course. After these evidences, and because there were a number of threads linking her disappearance to her husband, the police went to search around his house and searched his trash without a permission. They found that he had thrown away her college books, her makeup, and her clothes, like he knew she would not be coming back again, despite the amount of signs that had been discovered that confirmed that he definitely had something to do with her disappearance. Unfortunately, they did not find any conclusive evidence that would make them arrest them, especially since Robert was also in front of people. And in front of them, he was very upset and wanted to know what happened to his wife. And because of lack of conclusive evidences, this story remained unsolved for years. On December 23, 2000, the police received a letter from an unknown person with the words, Beverly Hills Police written on it, but if you notice, you will find that the word Beverly is spelled incorrectly. But the police didn't focus much on this matter, because they focused more on what was written inside of the letter, which is the word cadaver, and the meaning of this word is corpse. At the same time, a woman called the police and told them that the woman who lived next to her had been missing, and she told them that there were also a lot of messages at her neighbor's door, and no one would open to take them. She also didn't answer the phone while her back door was open, and her dog was outside in the street. At that time, of course, the police had to move. After they got this message and call, when they arrived and went inside her house, they found the body of a woman who gets shot in the back of the head. The police also noticed that no one broke the door of the house and entered, which means that the one who killed her was someone she knew, and she was the one who got her or him into her house. During the investigations, they learned that this woman's name was Susan Berman, and they also knew that she was the daughter of a very big mobster whose name was Daffy Berman. And of course, when they first get this information, they said that this crime was definitely because of her father.
She wrote about mobsters, and she was the daughter of one. So when author Susan Berman was found with a single gunshot wound to the head at her Benedict Canyon home on Christmas Eve, all of the obvious questions came up. Mostly, was it a mob-style hit?
But then they also get a very strange information. The information was that the person who was considered as closest person to her and her friend, his name was Robert Durst. At that time, of course, the police felt that there was definitely something suspicious behind this matter because there were two crimes. One of them was a murder, and the same man was present in both. When they started looking more closely at who this woman was, they discovered that she was the same woman who had been strongly defend Robert when they accused him of killing his wife. And not only that, she also made an excuse that he was with her at the time of the disappearance, and of course they started investigating him again. When they interrogate him, he said that he did not know anything and did not know that Susan had died in the first place. And this was a strange thing because Susan, as I said before, she was considered one of the closest people to him. How can you know her so well and didn't know that she died or that anything happened to her? When they told him about the message that they got, Robert said that the killer was definitely the one who sent this message, but also after all these investigations and his interrogation, they didn't really find any evidence to prove that he had gone to her house in the first place. So at that time the case also remained open because they didn't find anything. But the police at that time put Robert in suspicious list and they would keep an eye on him. But suddenly Robert disappeared when his wife's case was opened again. In October 2001, the police found black bags thrown in a place called Galveston Bay in Texas. And of course, when they opened these black bags, they discovered that inside them were body parts. After they saw this horrific discovery, the police took a fingerprint from the hand of the corpse that they found in the water. And at that time, they knew fingerprint belonged to a man named Morse Black. The police discovered that Mr. Morse lived in a building belonging to someone named Klaus Germling. When they knew who Morse was and where he lived, they went to his apartment. The first thing they found was very strange, because they found that there was a bloodline coming from his apartment to apartment number 2, where a woman whose name Dorothy Senior lived. As soon as possible, they get a permission to search Dorothy's apartment. When the police entered the apartment and in the kitchen, they saw scratches on the floor. Then the investigator removed part of the floor to see what was underneath it, and at that time they found blood stains. The blood that was on the ground was Morse Black's blood, meaning that this was the place where he was killed and dismembered. When the building owner was asked about her, the building owner told them that she was a deaf woman. And she also said that most of the time she didn't even be in the house because she travels a lot, and he always saw a man coming to her house. And when the landlord asked her who this man was, she said that he was her husband's brother. After this discovery, the police searched entire building for this matter for a long time, until they found something very strange in the garbage behind Morse's house. They found a receipt for someone who will receive glasses. And if you ask me what is strange about that, I will tell you that the person who will receive glasses, his name was written in this receipt, which was the name of Robert Durst. Again, this man got involved in another trouble with another murder case after this discovery. The first thing the investigator did was that he went to the optical store that was written in the receipt, his name. He told the workers there that when this man comes to receive the glasses, they should give him a call. In fact, after a few days, the workers in this store call, and then the police arrested Robert Durst for the 3rd time. But before you said, that's it, he get caught, unfortunately, I would tell you that the crime happened in Texas, so they don't have any record about Robert or his history. And when they investigate Robert, he said that he didn't know anything about this case, and the police were working hard to try to find any evidence to prove that he had something to do with Morse Black's death. But at the same time, Robert paid $250,000 to get out of detention until he goes to trial, and before his trial, he was caught in the supermarket, doing the strangest thing, which was trying to steal plasters and chicken sandwiches. But the strangest thing is that he had $500 in his pocket, which make me ask, why would he steal when he have money? At that time, they went to search his car, and they found 2 guns, $37,000, and drugs. But the most important thing they found was Morse Black's license, and that clear evidence means that he definitely had something to do with this case.
New York real estate heir Robert Durst will be turned over to Texas authorities this week. He faces charges in the dismemberment of the 71-year-old neighbor.
During the investigation, Robert felt that he was exposed, so he decided to confess what happened. Maurice noticed something strange about his neighbor, who lives in apartment number 2, which is that he is a man. When he confronted him with the truth, Robert confessed to Maurice that he was pretending to be a woman to hide his identity. Here, the two became friends, and Maurice understood what his neighbor Robert was doing and told him that he had gone through this experience before, that one wants to escape from his personality and his past. But this friendship ended when Robert returned home and found Maurice waiting for him and watching TV. Here, Robert wondered why Maurice entered his house without permission, and he was worried about the expressions on Maurice's face, and worried that Maurice took the gun that he had hidden in his house. And his fear actually came out true when Maurice got up from the chair and raised his gun in his face. They got into a very violent fight. Suddenly, in the middle of the gun was shot and Maurice died. The court decided that it was not Robert's fault, because the crime was classified as a self-defense because Maurice attacked him in his apartment.
For the verdict of the jury is such. Will the jury find the defendant, Robert Durst, not guilty?
And here he said that he dismembered Maurice's body because no one would believe him if he told this story. And of course, the important piece, which is Maurice's head, can't be found. And it's the only possible evidence which will decide if Robert was telling the truth or not. They couldn't prove what really had happened. Even if Maurice was killed because of self-defense, why could he dismember his body in this horrific way? Even the method of cutting was so accurate and professional that the police suspected that he had done this before. When they asked him this question, he said that this was the first time in his life that he had cut a person. I really felt uneasy of how easy he justified that he knew how to dismember a body with this cleverness. Because there was a doctor who told him that cutting a body is like cutting a chicken. After that, they brought him a psychiatrist straight away, and he sat examining him for about 70 hours. And at that time he found that he had a mental illness called Asperger. This disease is a type of autism, that a person can repeat the same behaviors even if they are wrong. To be honest, I do not understand how the court, after all of that, thought he was innocent, and he got sentenced him in 2003 to 5 years in prison, not because of the crime of killing Maurice Black, but because he didn't attend the court in the right time, and his denial of the crime the first time he got arrested without paying any attention about Maurice Black's murder. What a terrible justice. And he got out of prison after 3 years. Robert came back to live with us, although the fact he murder and dismember the body of someone
5, 4, 3, 2.
In 2011, a movie was released under the name of All Good Things. This movie was inspired by the case of the disappearance of Robert Durst's wife. Robert really liked the movie, and he called the director and told him that it was his time for telling the story from his perspective, because people all these years thought that he was the one who killed his wife, but he has nothing to do with her disappearance at all, and he said that he must clear himself. Of course, the director, whose name is Andrew Jarecki, loved the idea, so they stayed together for years until he directed a movie called The Jinx in 2015, but Robert didn't expect that this movie would be the one that would change his life forever. During the period that Robert spent with the director, Robert was telling the story from his side and what happened to him and the suffering he went through. When he was accused of killing his wife, of course, he insisted on saying that he was innocent of all these actions, and even that he was showing him everything related to the case. But there was a specific thing that Susan's husband's son knew about, which was a letter Robert Durst sent to Susan when they were friends for a very long time. But if you focus on the address that Robert wrote, you will find that the title is the same mistake of the spelling word Beverly that was sent to the police before. In addition to that, if you look carefully, you will find that it is the same handwriting. At that time, the director decided to confront Robert with these evidence in front of the camera without even telling the police about what he discovered, in order to also finish his film. It's really good and professional move from the director Andrew Jarecki. When this evidence was presented to Robert, he was dismayed that the interview he thought would improve his reputation would become the one that would incriminate him. He told the director that he actually wrote the first letter, but he had never sent anything to the police, and after the interview was over, they turned off the lights. Robert got up and went into the bathroom, but he did not know that the microphone was still on and that the entire staff was listening while he was talking to himself and saying,
I'm having difficulty with the questions. What the hell did I do? Kill them all. Of course.
This was a clear confession from Robert, and after that, he was proven guilty of killing Susan and was arrested in 2019. Here, he confessed that he did not call his wife to check on her, and that he did not spend the night with his friends as he had previously told the police. When Susan called Robert and told him that the police wanted to investigate her again when he reopened the case of his wife's disappearance, but when Robert went to Susan's house, he found her dead. So that no one would suspect him, he sent this strange message to the police. But even in his confession, he was lying because in fact, he was the one who killed Susan, because she told him that she will tell the truth to the police. Of course, Catherine's case was opened for the third time, but not as a disappearance case, but as a murder case, and many people concluded that he dismembered her, as he did in the Maurice Black case. Finally, on September 17th, 2021, he was convicted of first-degree murder in the Susan case. Thus, Robert will spend his entire life in prison without the possibility of parole. 2 months later, they officially accused him of killing his wife, but unfortunately, this accusation didn't complete because he died in 2022. To be honest, when I heard about this case, I really would preferred if Robert lived a little longer to get the suitable punishment, because after these charges were finally proven against him, he would die easily. Robert lived a life full of lies and murders and deserve an ending worse than that. But we can get a moral from Robert Durst's story that even if the one is so clever and good at lying, there is an end for all bad people which will get what they deserve. Thank you guys for watching till the end, and don't forget to like if you enjoy. And the next video will be about a Korean singer who was addicted to plastic surgeries, so make sure to subscribe for more stories and crime documentary.